Bonjour et bienvenue à Juste Montre des Plus. Et mon Dieu, do I have a cracker for all of you today. Remember I said I had 3 watches coming in inspired by the Blancpain 50 Fathoms? Well, this Meraud Bonaire is number 2 and it's the one I've really been looking forward to reviewing. I've been chatting to the brand owner for about 6 months now and it's great to see this one finally edging towards production. It's not cheap at nearly $750 US, but I think Meraud have got it just right. Let's flip the camera and take a look. Zut alors, do I have a lot to show you today. Not 1, not 2, but 3. There's a third one of these Meraud Bonaire prototypes lurking in the box down there, sent to me for review by the company's Belgian owner, hence my outrageous attempt at a French accent in the introduction of the video. Let's start with a brief look at the Kickstarter campaign. This one has absolutely smashed its target, more than doubled every time I click on the site. That number keeps going up and up. Now the super early birds are gone, but these are still available on early bird at €645. Now that comes in at about $740 US. And you do get plenty of watch for the cash. I suggest if you're interested in this one, you have a good look at the Kickstarter campaign. There are a bunch of different options to choose from as always. Now this is a prototype box, but it should give you a reasonable idea of what to expect, and you certainly get a big enough box for your cash, that is for sure. I would imagine there'll be a manual going in there at some point. A nice outer box and a nice big kind of soft touch inner box, push button there, and voila, I'm missing something. Voila, that's better. You get a nice box, proper brackets in here, Meraud on the underside, but it doesn't end there. The watch in the middle obviously, and underneath you get a whole other tray of goodies with it. Graphite grey on the left, marine blue in the middle, and onyx black on the right. I believe the starter price includes either a leather strap or the bracelet. You can then choose to spec on an additional colour matched leather strap and or bracelet depending on which way you went. Whatever you choose, the package includes a tropic strap and a NATO. So 3 different strap combinations out of the box with the possibility to add a 4th. And the 3 colour combos are just gorgeous. The grey one features a sunburst dial applied, indices, lovely vintage style markers there, and that curved bezel so reminiscent of the Blancpain 50 Fathoms, and a lovely pale brown colour matched hand cut French leather strap. I've got the blue one here as well, supplied on the bracelet. Again, bright blue, marine blue, sunburst, blue bezel insert. Both of those watches feature C3 Superluminova, but I'm a sucker for this black one. No sunburst affecting the dial. You do get a kind of glossy finish there, again those applied indices. And this one comes with the C3 Old Radium style vintage loom and this beautiful honey colour strap. This is the one that I would be going for of the 3 I suspect, but then again I must confess a bias. I'm totally into the kind of neo vintage look. I love these old style watches and I love that C3 Old Radium style loom. And there is the loom shot. This watch has given me an opportunity to check these 2 side by side. I've owned and operated watches featuring C3 and C3 Old Radium, but never had the chance to look at 2 of them side by side. So as you can see, both of them feature decent enough loom, plenty in that sapphire bezel insert as well. But if loom is a big thing for you, then perhaps go for the regular C3. It certainly has got the legs on the Old Radium style one on this occasion. So colour and luminescence to one side. All other dimensions and specifications are the same across all 3 model variants. 39mm in diameter, 20mm lug width, just under 13mm thick and a 48mm lug tip to lug tip, so pretty much the dimensions you would expect given that diameter. On the supplied leather strap, this one weighs in at about 83 grams. On the bracelet, it comes in slightly heavier, 130 grams, so certainly a bit more chunk in the bracelet, but not too much chunk. 130 is still nice and light. And the bracelet's a very interesting one, again in keeping with the vintage look of the watch, riveted, very much like my Aura 65 and Tudor Black Bays. These top links are riveted, the rest of them have screw pins for adjustment. Tapering all the way down from 20 at the lug ends, down to under 16 at the clasp, back up to 18 at the clasp. Plenty of micro adjustments here on the clasp, and it's pressed. Now on a channel first, I'm going to say that the press clasp suits this watch. I'm going to let it off for having a press clasp. I think that is definitely a conscious decision by Meraud and not a cost-cutting exercise. Definitely in keeping with the overall styling of the piece, aping the look of the 1960s. So they are forgiven on this occasion. Don't any of the rest of you think you can get away with it. And finishing on the case is fantastic. Now these are prototypes, so they have lived a life already, so if there's a couple of nicks and cuts on there, that explains it. But lovely smooth horizontal brushing on the mid case. You've got a chamfered edge, gorgeous transition between brushed and polished, and then back to brushed again on the lugs. Very nicely machined coin edge bezel, again just as you'd expect. And a simple but attractive case back there, all stainless steel as you would expect, as is the case. Screw down crown giving this one 20 bar, 200 meters of water resistance, advertising the Swiss movement. All stainless steel construction, sapphire, crystal, etc. And these are all going to be individually numbered on the case back. Now in keeping with the look of the period, this is a polygonal case back, so you may or may not already have the tool required to remove this. Hopefully you shouldn't have to remove it all that often. Now Swiss movement, but what movement? This is an STP 111. This is the first watch that I've looked at with one of these. Or not looked at really. It's a shame I can't get a look at it because apparently it is quite an attractive movement. I suggest you do a little bit of research on the internet if you are unfamiliar with this. It is just another clone of the ETA 2824, lesser known than the Sellita 200 perhaps, but very, very similar. 26 jewels, hacks and hand winds. Actually, this one has a slightly longer power reserve at 44 hours, and adjusted to 5 positions, it is out of the box, supposedly more accurate than the ETA or the Sellita. These ones just arrived, so I haven't had the time to check them up. So I suggest, as I said, that you do a little bit of research to familiarize yourself with the movement, equivalent to the Sellita 200 or the ETA 2824. Therefore, a good choice. Let's start the wrist shot fashion parade then. I'm going to be busy with this one, given that there are 3 different models to show you and a couple of bonus straps as well. Very nice leather straps these. The owner of Meraud, he says that one of the reasons that the Merauds are coming in a little more expensive than one might anticipate is because of some of the quality decisions that he's made during the process of designing and manufacturing these watches. The straps come from a French manufacturer who also makes rather expensive handbags supplied in orange boxes. I will leave that one to you to further investigate. Very nice, deep etched Meraud buckle there as well. Now these ones are hand cut. He says he's going to add more holes for those of you with slightly smaller than 7-inch wrist, minus 7-inch wrist here. And there's also going to be a strap option if you are a guy with a smaller wrist and you're still into one of these watches. I think the 39mm size, spot on for a vintage style piece. You do notice it slightly smaller, certainly considerably smaller than the Borealis Seastorm that I reviewed that was stylistically quite similar than this one. And zoomed out for perspective, sits very nicely and neatly. I really do like the way this one wears on the leather strap. I'm normally a bracelet kind of guy, but I think the leather strap is possibly the one to go for here. I think possibly because the lugs are so far in, there's no gap between the strap and the body of the watch, the case of the watch itself, so it really does look like it was made for one of these leather straps rather than being made for a bracelet with the strap being an afterthought. Love this colour combination, an absolute honey. I think the fact that there's no sunburst on the dial of this onyx black one kind of adds to the authenticity of the vintage look. Sunburst tends to look a little bit jazzy, a little bit modern, but this black one, very nice, deep lustrous black with those deep filled applied indices, just looks great. Or go for a different colour combination with the blue one on that vintage style riveted press clasp bracelet. Plenty of colour to be had there if you so choose. Does feel slightly top heavy compared to some of the other braceleted watches that I've looked at, because I think most of the weight is in the case rather than the bracelet. It is on the thin and light side, which I guess is the point though. And that vintage loom one looks pretty hot on the Tropic. Nice and compliant Tropic, again with the Meraud branded buckle and Meraud branding on the underside of the Tropic as well, which is nice to see. And super long, so if you are going to get this one, wear the weekends. Dare I say, if you're going to be wrapping one of these over the top of a wetsuit, then clearly the Tropic is the choice. And there's our plucky trio glinting away in the Sydney springtime sunshine, looking pretty fantastic in each of the different strap combinations as well, I must say. It is a very beautiful watch to look at if you like the vintage style, and I think they got it just about spot on. I don't think there's anything glaring or clashing with the overall aesthetic here. I think a cohesively designed watch from end to end, with a number of different colorways and well thought out color schemes. So I like a lot. What do I not like as much? Well, $750 US. Sharp intake of breath. That is a fair chunk of money on a brand new micro brand. For not a lot more than that, you can pick yourself up an Oris 65, which has many of the same vintage aesthetic characteristics as this Meraud Bonaire. Now the bracelet I don't think is as successful on this watch as the straps. Doesn't look like it's been particularly well integrated. I think because they spent such time and attention on that chamfered lug and made that lug and the case so pretty, the bracelet doesn't quite look like it matches up all that well, which is why I'd be going for the leather strap one. Always nice to have the bracelet as an option, but it doesn't quite look as nice, I don't think, as it does on the leather. Now the Bonaire may have a Swiss made movement in its case, but it is lacking the magic words Swiss made either side of that triangle down there at the 6 o'clock. Now if it's not made in Switzerland, then it's probably coming out of a factory in the Far East. That is not necessarily a bad thing. I've got no problem with that. I don't think that Swiss made is necessarily a guarantee of quality, but at the price that they're charging for this one, it would have been nice to have seen it on the dial. But a lot to like about the Meraud Bonaire. I think it's a great first effort from a brand new micro brand. They should be applauded for that. They've had a very firm idea from the beginning of the watch that they wanted to make, and I think that they have made it to the best of their abilities. So good luck to them. I'm sure the new owners will be very happy with what they receive in the post in a couple of months' time. Now, I'm off out for a posh dinner tonight, and I've got a big decision ahead of me. Which one of these three beauties am I going to take? So there you have it, the Meraud Bonaire then. I admit, just my cup of tea, a vintage style dive watch. But I think this one, the devil's in the detail, and a lot of those details are just lovely. Clearly, I'm not alone, judging by how oversubscribed the Kickstarter is. I'm sure the nearly 200 new owners who've signed up already won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching, see you in the next one.